Most people think arguments are about facts. They believe the person with the better logic wins. But in the real world, logic barely matters. Arguments are psychological battles, small strategic wars disguised as conversations. And in these battles, the person who understands human nature always wins. This is the Machiavellian guide to winning arguments. Not by being louder, not by being smarter, but by understanding the invisible rules everyone else ignores. The first rule is simple. Never argue on the opponent's battlefield. Most people walk straight into traps without noticing. They react emotionally, defend themselves, or try to disprove the other person's claim. That's exactly how you lose. A Machiavellian mind doesn't defend. It reframes. If someone attacks your idea, you don't argue against them. You shift the entire conversation to a different angle, where their attack no longer matters. You define the terms. You set the frame. You make them play your game. Because the one who sets the frame controls the outcome. The second rule, control tempo. Arguments aren't just about words. They're about rhythm. Most people speed up when they feel threatened. They talk louder, faster, more chaotically. They think it makes them sound confident, but actually it reveals fear. A Machiavellian slows down. They speak calmly, deliberately, almost like they're observing the entire conversation from above. This calmness destabilizes the other person. It makes them doubt themselves. It makes them adjust to your pace. And once they adjust, you control the emotional climate. You don't win because you're right. You win because you dictate the rhythm. The third rule, don't attack the argument, attack the certainty. When people believe something strongly, they cling to it for identity. If you confront them directly, they resist harder. But if you simply introduce a small seed of doubt, they begin arguing with themselves. A single phrase can do this. Are you completely sure? Or, something about that doesn't quite add up, does it? These aren't attacks. They're psychological viruses. Once planted, the mind starts running background processes, searching for inconsistencies. They begin destabilizing themselves, and you no longer need to push. The fourth rule, don't try to win in the moment. Aim to win in their mind later. A Machiavellian knows that arguments rarely end when the conversation ends. People rethink discussions in the shower, in bed, while walking alone. So instead of crushing them publicly, you give them a sentence, just one, that will echo later. Something like, think about what you said. It doesn't match what you believe. Or, you reacted strongly. What made you emotional? That line haunts them. It replays, and eventually they convince themselves you were right. They adopt your perspective, thinking it was their own conclusion. That is the highest level of influence. And the fifth rule, know when not to fight. A Machiavellian doesn't argue with people who gain power from drama. They don't fight battles where there is nothing to win. They don't waste energy on people who can't change. Winning an argument isn't about proving you're right. It's about gaining something. Respect, influence, information, leverage, clarity. If the argument offers none of these, a strategist walks away. Because real power is not in speaking, it's in choosing when to stay silent. So here's the truth. You don't win arguments through force. You win by shaping perception. You win by guiding emotion. You win by knowing human nature better than the person standing in front of you. Master these 5 rules and you'll stop fighting arguments. You'll start winning them before they even begin.